My name is Mike, a 40-year-old history professor at the university. I don't stand out in a crowd. Average height, lean build, dark hair with a touch of gray at the temples that I try to hide by combing it back neatly. My brown eyes are framed by faint wrinkles, a testament to years spent poring over books and delivering lectures. That day, I was dressed in my usual professor attire, a navy blazer, a slightly wrinkled white shirt from a long day, and gray trousers. My tie, as always, was slightly loosened. I've never been a fan of formality. On my feet were my old but well-maintained black dress shoes, worn for about 5 years now. My glasses in their thin metal frames kept sliding down my nose, and I instinctively pushed them back up. It was an ordinary September day, like hundreds before it. I was giving a lecture on medieval Europe to first-year students in a half-empty auditorium, where most were lazily scrolling through their phones. I stood by the chalkboard, explaining the significance of the Crusades, when I noticed her, Amanda. She was sitting in the third row by the window, scribbling furiously in her notebook. Her long chestnut hair was tied up in a messy bun, catching the glint of the autumn sun. She wore a light denim jacket, a white t-shirt with some faded print, and dark green pants that hugged her slender legs. Her white sneakers were slightly worn but clean. Her face drew me in, large green eyes, a faint blush on her cheeks, and lips that moved slightly as she whispered my words to herself, as if committing them to memory. She looked young, but there was something deeper in her gaze, a curiosity bordering on obsession. I didn't realize I'd lingered on her too long until she looked up and smiled, a light, effortless smile that made my heart skip a beat. I quickly turned back to the board, feeling heat rise to my cheeks. Mike, you're 40, you're her professor. Get a grip, I thought, but her image was already etched in my mind. Amanda started attending my lectures regularly. She always sat in that same third row, always with her notebook, always with a pencil she absent-mindedly chewed while listening. Her questions after class were surprisingly insightful, delving into details most students overlooked. One day, as I explained the intricacies of medieval trade routes, she stayed behind after everyone else had left. We talked for 20 minutes, and I felt the line between professor and student begin to blur. Her laugh, the way she tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear, it was captivating. Weeks passed, and I realized I was looking forward to seeing her in every lecture. It was wrong, I knew it. There was a chasm between us. 20 years, my position, her youth. But every time she lingered to ask a question, my pulse quickened. I tried to avoid her, to keep our conversation short, but she always found a way to draw me in. One evening, as I was grading papers in my office, she knocked on the door. "Professor, may I?" Her voice was soft but confident. She wore that same denim jacket, but this time with a red scarf that made her stand out even more. "Of course, Amanda. What's up?" I tried to sound neutral, but my voice betrayed a slight tremor. She sat across from me, placed her notebook on the desk, and started talking about an idea for an essay. But I wasn't hearing her words. I was watching her gestures, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about history. At one point, she paused and looked at me. "You're listening, right?" She smiled, but this time there was something new in her expression, like she knew what I was feeling. I cleared my throat, tried to regain control, but she leaned closer, and I caught a faint whiff of her perfume, something with lavender notes. "Amanda," I began, but she cut me off. "Have you ever thought that there could be something between people that defies logic?" Her voice was almost a whisper. I froze. My mind screamed, "This is a trap, Mike. You'll lose everything. Your career, your reputation." But my heart said something else. I looked away, trying to gather myself. "Amanda, you're my student. It's not right." She was silent for a few seconds, then said quietly, "I know, but I can't help it. That night, I didn't sleep." Her words, her gaze, her presence haunted me. I tried to keep my distance, but she was everywhere, in my lectures, in the hallways, in my thoughts. Our conversations grew longer, more personal. She told me about her childhood, her dream of becoming a historian, how she hated living by rules imposed on her. I shared stories from my own student days, forgetting I was her professor, not a friend, or perhaps something more. The tension built. One rainy evening, as I was locking up the auditorium, she appeared again. Soaked from the rain, no umbrella, still in that denim jacket, her hair loose and clinging to her cheeks. "Mike," she said, using my first name for the first time, and it hit me like a jolt. I can't keep pretending this is just about lectures. I stood there, speechless. The rain drummed against the windows, and in that moment, I knew I couldn't resist. I stepped toward her, and she didn't back away. Our hands brushed, and it was like an electric shock. I knew it was the end of my restraint, my self-control. But reality hit hard. The next day, I received a message from the dean. Someone had seen us together, noticed us talking too closely. University rules were clear. Any relationship between a professor and a student was an ethical violation that could cost me my job. Panic gripped me. I couldn't lose everything I'd worked for, but I also couldn't lose her. We started meeting in secret. Late evenings in small cafes outside the city, walks in parks where no one would recognize us. Every moment with her was like a breath of air after being underwater. But the fear of being caught never left me. I saw how it hurt her to hide, how she wanted to shout about her feelings, but couldn't. The breaking point came when a student sent an anonymous letter to the dean with photos of us together. I remember that day, sitting in his office, feeling the ground slip from under me. The dean was stern, but not without sympathy. He gave me a choice: resign quietly or face an official investigation that would destroy my reputation. I chose the former. "Why I told Amanda," she cried. She blamed herself, but I knew it was my choice. I let myself fall in love. I left the city, leaving behind the university and her. But before I went, she came to my apartment. Her eyes were red from tears, but she was still beautiful in that denim jacket. "I don't want you to go," she said. "I can't stay, Amanda, but I'll never regret us." We hugged one last time, and I felt my heart break. I left, leaving behind my career, my home, her. But her image, her green eyes, her smile, her voice stayed with me forever. Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing, if I should have fought. But one thing I know, she was my forbidden love, and I'll never forget what it felt like to love so deeply that I was willing to lose everything. If you like this video, please subscribe and follow my channel.